Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tearing It Up. This one I am especially stoked for because I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. Because this is the first time I think I'm talking to somebody who lives a life quite parallel of mine right now. We're both, in our later 30s, early 40s, making some life choices that people might think are questionable, living in tiny places with limited power, water, all the things, but we love it so much. And so today I have Alix from ABD Culture. Can't wait to dive into what she's created and learn more about her background, how it all started, and of course, how she's living and where. So that's where we'll start, Alix, is where exactly are you in the world today as we record?
I am currently in Gunnison, Colorado, and living in my camper. I like to call it tiny living at this point because we are no longer moving around like we were for the last few years. We are pretty held up in Gunnison. We really enjoy it here. The sunshine is great. And we just live in our tiny little camper. You can see my kitchen behind you or
Yes.
behind me.
I love it. Also, I guess I should have asked, do you prefer Alex or Alexandra?
Alex.
Okay, good. All of a sudden, I just realized, your name was fully typed out on like, the app that we're using, so I was like, "Oh, no, maybe she actually doesn't like going by Alex."
I mean, you can. The only person who actually calls me Alexandra is my husband.
Really?
Yeah. And not even when he's angry at me, just it just sometimes calls me Alexandra. I'm like, "Huh, okay."
It's so funny how things like that happen, that the sometimes the people closest to you are the ones that call you the formal thing, right? Instead of, usually the other way, it's like everyone calls you by this nickname that you know really well, and it's only people who don't know you well that call you by your full or formal name.
Yeah, or like you get Alexandria all the time or Alice or,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I know, same with me, I get a lot of weird things, mostly just Karen, but
But your name is so much cooler than Karen.
it
I mean, not
is.
just any Karens, but your name is so cool.
I know, I used to hate it, and then I tried to spell it with, a Y instead of an I,
Mhm.
in middle school at some point, and then I came to just, love it. I'm like, "Oh, actually, it's really great being different," and I think we all probably go through stages like that where it's like, you wanna fit in a little more, and you don't like the things that are different about you, and you come to appreciate them eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a chairlift with 3 other male Alexes, so I love my name, and also it is, like, become one of the most popular names.
Yes.
Yours is cool.
Yes. Well, you spell yours with an I too, which is different at least.
Yeah, thanks I get to thank my mom for that.
Yes. Yeah, my whole family has a weird thing with I's. There was, Terry, Dicky, Misty, Christy, Cammy, and, Taryn, and everything's an I, not like a Y or an IE.
Oh my gosh, that's my family too. It was Devin, Devin, Lori, Lori, and my dad, Rick. Like, what is it? I guess you're an I family, you're an I family.
It's so random.
So
So
random.
random. Okay, so you're in Gunnison, in your camper, and I like your what'd you say, tiny
Tiny lip.
tiny living, okay. Um 'Cause that's the thing about me too, we're stationary. We live in our fifth wheel but we're not moving around. We never really had the plan to move around, but we got some property and we wanted to be able to, be up here and move on it, and the only way to, be up here and live on it without, trying to build anything on this raw land was like, "Okay, let's put up a camper or fifth wheel or something," and we did that and ended up moving in full time, and here we are. I don't know, I think this is our 4th winter up here, so we're here for the long haul for sure, and maybe
Uh,
someday we'll have an actual house or structure where we can, move this 5th wheel, but now I kinda worry that it sat for so long, and, by the time we can move it, it might just fall apart as it, tries to drive away.
I know, I've been thinking about that. I'm like, should we move it to rotate the
Yeah.
wheels? Like, are they still inflated?
Mhm.
I totally get that. Well, we started to it was kind of like the way we could get out of Vermont is by putting my business in the camper and kind of like lightly breaking my family into the fact that we were gonna only come home for a couple of months a year, and then we were only gonna come home maybe never.
So do you guys have it is it like a pull behind camper or is it a full okay.
Yeah, it's a 23-foot toy hauler. So the back opens all the way up, which is how we were able to get my laser cutter into the back, which is kind of like our garage, like closet, bathroom area. So the whole business actually runs out of this camper. And what you're looking at right now behind me is our tiny little kitchen. And then this is kind of our living room. And then this is actually our bed that
Oh.
that lowers down. And every night it's on a motor. Every night I'm like, "Do you believe in magic?" Because the bed comes down and I'm like, "Yay!"
That's hilarious. I thought maybe it would be because you're like, "I hope we have, like, the power we need to get the bed to come down. I hope the battery's not dead," or whatever. If you're plugged in, like, everything works fine and we can get our bed down to sleep in it.
That too, in the beginning, we didn't realize how much electricity, drops off the farther it has to travel, and so we were like, "Why isn't it lifting the bed?" Like, where it's not that heavy. Sure enough, like, we didn't have big enough electrical cables going to the bed, so the power wasn't enough.
You learn a lot living on wheels, whether you're stationary or not, because even if you're plugged into shore power, I think you have to kinda think about wattage use and things more because, yeah, you're still running through cords and whatnot, so, I always you know, people bring up things to me like, "Oh, you should get this or that." I'm like, "Oh, I can't run that. That probably runs, like, 2,000 watts, like, not gonna do that." I'm like, "Oh, I can run that. That's about 300." Like, and I kinda like knowing, like, how much energy things take to charge, to run, and that's something you just don't even know or think about, just in a house.
Yeah, I totally had, like, such a crash course on, like, AC and versus DC power, and we are plugged in, but we're only plugged into a 20 amp, so we have, a Breville, like, air fryer slash convection oven, which I love. I do so many meals in it, but, like, I can't run that and our induction top at the same time.
Yep.
Like, you could do one or the other, and that's it.
I have similar with I have an espresso coffee machine. That was I got it, I don't know, not long before we came up here, and, but I cannot run it, like, while the heater's on. So, I've gotta, like, time it. I'm like, "Okay, did the heater just go off? Okay, press the coffee button." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, the heater might come on, like, while I'm making this." And, I mean, it can do it, it can make it through, but sometimes it's just kind of a little questionable, like, "Is this gonna blow a breaker?" So I just don't wanna push it, but, um okay, so I'm sure we'll talk more about all of this living in the tiny spaces, but you mentioned, you run your whole business out of it. You have a laser cutter in there. For people who don't know what ABD culture is, let's start there and let the folks know what exactly it is you do, what your business is. I have my bracelet on that I got from you at Pitch Fest.
Yay. So ABD culture stands for Alexandra Barron Designs culture, which it was never the culture was added later, but as a jeweler, everyone's like, "Oh, it's supposed to be your name." And of course, I'm terrible at coming up with names, not my skill set. And so my mom was like, "Your name is so beautiful. You should use your name." And I was like, "Okay, I can't think of anything better." So, and then ABD culture was kind of a hashtag actually that one of my girlfriends had started using early on. And I was like, this is so much easier to use versus like Alexandra Barrow Designs, like blah, 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 blah. So that kind of became the name. But then of course everyone's got their like things and there some were like, oh, it's like a business park or it sounds like a yogurt. And I'm like, you just can't make everybody happy. So so we just go with what we've got. And so what it is it's jewelry made out of bicycle inner tubes. Well, primarily I have some other materials that I use, but it's all laser cut. I do all the designs myself and here I'll see if I can't. This is kind of a newer
Oh, yeah.
design. Oh, yeah. And let's see. And then the earrings that I'm wearing, this is the new fishbone or river bone feather. Super lightweight, super comfortable. These are 4 inches long and they weigh like less than a gram.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually am ruined. I tell this to everybody. I'm like, I can't wear anything else. I had a friend make these beautiful pair of antler earrings, wore them for 10 minutes, and I was like, nope, gotta go.
They're too heavy.
They're too heavy. I'm like, well, it's either black or black. What does Henry Ford say? You can have any color you want as long as it's black
Yes, oh
or
my
striped.
god. That's just incredible. I need to know where and how this all started, that the idea spring that you're gonna use inner tubes to make jewelry.
Yeah. So I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York for 4 years, graduated, thank God. And found out that jewelry was kind of like my best medium. The designs and my talent really kind of shone in that direction. But I didn't jewelry is such a huge market. Like there's so
Mhm.
many incredible jewelers out there that I was like, well, I don't want to just make another product out of a raw material. And I didn't realize until like a few years into the business how much recycling had impacted me, and especially my mom recycling. My mom was like, you gotta like wash it out, you gotta break it down, you gotta separate it. And like my whole life, because at that point we still believed that recycling was true, was
Mhm.
real, like that it was doing something. And so like that really impacted me. And then I had a girlfriend who had a pair of hand cut feather earrings, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's really cool. And she was like, you could totally do this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I could totally do that. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and my husband, my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, and I were invited to Burning Man to like help babysit, take some videos. Like, who goes to Burning Man to
Yeah.
babysit?
Like, wait, what?
What? But that's what the deal was, and so we got to go, and I needed a gift to give or to trade, and this had just happened, and I was like, "Well, my husband, we're both mountain bikers or are, and he pops tubes like it's going out of style. He's always bunny hopping. I'm always telling all our friends, like, "You gotta watch out. He's kind of erratic. He's like, going all over the trail." And so he's always popping tubes. So I'm like, "Well, I have scissors and I have tubes, and I know how to make jewelry because my mom was a jeweler and went to school for jewelry." I was like, "Here we go." And sure enough, they were a big hit. Got my first order of like 26 pairs of these triple feathers that were really cool, and hand cut every single one. Um,
Wow.
yeah. And then learned about lasers and took a laser cut jewelry class in Burlington, Vermont at the Generator, which is an incredible maker space. And those days felt like they were definitely incubation. Like it was raw, it was in the basement of an old memorial auditorium, and it was just like all of us in there like tinkering and doing like coming up with these cool things. And so I learned how to laser cut and then got my own laser cutter, and I love it. I call it Bumblebee because it's a little yellow and black. Well, it's not little, it's like 4 feet by 5 feet, but whatever.
That's wild. Is there okay, obviously, there's still tons and tons of tubes, but so this probably is a silly question, but have you noticed any kind of difference with the movement to tubeless in, like, finding the material you need?
That is definitely the most common question I get, and no.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, there's so many, like, who I mean, just from the days and still so many bikes that run tubes. I mean, we're in such a bubble in mountain biking that I think we forget that most bikes, that are available to people are very different from what we're riding in our little niche, like, mountain town mountain bike bubble, like I said. But it's like, okay, had to just ask and see if maybe, but I was probably like, "Yeah, right." So do you have, like, partnerships with bike shops or other people? Like, how did you start once you started growing to where you maybe needed more than what your husband was providing with his popping? How'd you go about, sourcing?
Yeah. When we were living in Vermont, I had the neighborhood, the one of the local bike shops. He lived right next door to us, so he would just like literally leave them at my mailbox, like a whole bundle, just like wrapped with another tube around it, just like at my mailbox. I'd be like, "Oh, great!" And then when we're traveling, I always just go into a bike shop and I'm like, "Hey, do you guys have any tubes? I'm looking to recycle them." And they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I make this jewelry." And they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. Do you want to carry it in our store?" And I'm like, "Yay, I
Yes, that's
do."
so cool. I
Yeah, so
love
it's kind
that.
of fun closed loop kind of idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, like you said, early on with recycling and how we grew up of, like, reduce, reuse, recycle, and everyone's like, "Yes, we can recycle everything. Every piece of plastic gets recycled, and it's a beautiful, like, circular thing," and then it's like, Wrong, like, not how it works," and plus, honestly, I didn't even know, and I think a lot of people still don't really about how well you have to actually wash stuff out for it to really be, like, accepted, and that blew my mind. Like, I lived with a guy here in Truckee my first full year here who was really, like, just knew the ins and outs, right? He was kind of like the garbage can and recycle police at our house, like, take things out, like, "Nope, gotta wash that out. Nope, that goes over here, it's a number 5," or whatever. So I learned a lot about it there because, like, growing up for me, it was like we had 1 bin and, we threw whatever we could there, plus, like, a separate glass, but, just so wild that it doesn't it's definitely not happening the way we were fed. Unfortunately, that is a lot of our world and society. I think it's made us, especially our generation, maybe very untrustworthy of things. But so when there's things where you can actually see the product being completely remade into something else, I love that. Like what you're doing, what Birdie Blue is doing, taking old things and making them into something new. So, eventually it still may end up somewhere else, but you are giving it such a longer life. And if that tube isn't made into anything at all, it's absolutely just going to the trash, right? So
yeah.
you're 100% doing something more with it than would be done without. And is there a kinda estimate of, like, how many pieces you can make out of a tube? I mean, I know you make such different like, I have a bracelet on, right? You have 4-inch earrings. I have little tiny, like, peace, symbol earrings from you, so I'm sure it ranges greatly, but is there kind of a average or estimate of what you can get out of 1 tube?
Yeah, so I tend to or process the tubes down into, like, 16-inch lengths, and in a 16-inch length, if we're doing bracelets, we can get 4, and if they're larges, it's usually 3, or I could, like, adjust the tube length, but if we're doing, like, those tiny piece earrings, excuse me, you can get, like, 40 pairs of earrings out of 1 tube, so it's, like, it's really yeah, the difference in what you can get out of the tube varies on the size.
And then with all the little, like, scrap pieces, because you're laser cutting, there's little holes and things in the designs. What do you end up doing with all of the like, can you do anything else? Send it to a place where they, like, meld it all back together into a new tube? Or do you have, what's your after process?
Yeah. Great question, and ideally, I would send it to someone, and that's something that, I gotta put that on my to-do list, figure out how to, like because, ideally and in my big dream goals, we would have all of our products would be closed loop.
Mhm.
So you would buy something and then it would either go back to the manufacturer or back to someone to be recycled or reused or you know what I mean? There wouldn't be just like this trash, which is really just farther away from you, not actually composting into anything. But I guess they are finding what mushrooms and bacteria that can break down plastics.
Oh.
That rumor that I've seen. So that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, actually, so the first how I even heard about your jewelry in the first place was it was in a store here in Truckee that I worked at, Tahoe Mountain Sports, and so I'd seen it really for years, but I just hadn't, like, looked into the woman behind it or anything. So it was just, like I mean, I do think a lot of my meetings are pretty serendipitous and happen at a good time because we actually met at Title IX Pitch Fest. But we found out there that the week before we were both at Rome Fest, but I didn't, catch you there. I actually you were sharing a space with, what's the name? She was doing bike
Boot
bags,
camp?
right?
Oh. Panda, Rogue Panda.
Rogue Panda, yes, yeah, and so I had stopped by and I actually got a top tube bag, but somehow didn't you were not there at that time, it was just her in the booth, but, I guess maybe I thought because she was just there that, like, she was just selling them too or something, like, had them there and didn't even put anything together, but again, at Pitch Fest, it was just great, lovely meeting you and chatting, and then when we got on our first call, like, finding out, like, "Oh, we're both living in trailers," like, who yeah, not a lot of other women in our age are, like, doing this, and sometimes it feels like weird or like, people question it or we question it, right? Like, what are we doing here? And so then like meeting each other, it's just like, okay, wait, we're we're not completely crazy. Like someone else is doing this too, right? We're not on this island alone, like having to question ourselves. And I think there's just something always just grounding and like, I don't know, peaceful when you find someone who is doing something very similar to you that takes some of those questions out of your mind and, makes you think, "Yeah, I'm not too crazy." And you are running a full business. I mean, I'm trying to run a business, yes, but it's not quite the same. It's not product. It's a lot easier to have a computer and a microphone and talk to you versus have a laser cutter in the back, especially because you guys were traveling first too. So, um, how did you really decide that it was, like, time that you and your husband, wanted to take things on the road and just see where life took you?
We really missed the West. I grew up in Vermont, and my husband and I met in Crested Butte and then moved to Tahoe for 3 years, and then my father passed away, and we moved home to Vermont to be with my family. And while I absolutely love Vermont and I miss my family all of the time, um, I get I have probably, like, some sort of seasonal depression
Mhm.
where when it starts raining and then freezing and then thawing and then raining in Vermont, I get really, really angry. And I tried for 8 years. I really did. I gave it my all. And the skiing can be absolutely amazing there, and it's beautiful, and I just really am happy to be out here.
Yeah, so you guys were just ready to head back west. Did you go straight back to Colorado or and kinda move around there, or from your when you got the camper and started hitting the road, did you stop in some other places along the way?
Yeah, so we had always been like, well, is moving back to Crested Butte just like us, the throwing in of the towel and just like, kind of not really giving something else a try.
Mhm.
So that first winter, we were just so excited to be out of Vermont that we went like each week we were visiting a different friend.
Oh,
We were up in at Schweitzer and Sand Point visiting friends up there. We were in Steamboat. We were in Jackson Hole. We were Salt Lake, Crested Butte, Moab. I mean, we were like, well, we got to test everywhere, right? Like, we can't just go back because that would be like, forfeiting. I don't know. And so then the following winter, we were like, well, we had some really good friends in Sandpoint, Idaho, Schweitzer. And so we went and spent the winter there. And that was amazing. And I really like Schweitzer. The resort is super fun. It's got great glades, and it's just like you can find a couple of things to scare yourself, but it's not like you're like, oh my God, if I make a wrong turn, I'm gonna die. And also, we were living in town and it was raining. Like it rained for like 2 months, and it
oh.
was so hot. Yeah. But, like, in town, in the camper, it was like, we were trying to, like, deal with all the moisture, and we were like, "Wait a second, we didn't move out of Vermont to deal with as much, if not more rain." So we are like, "This not cutting it." So we're like and then finally we went on a ski trip into BC and with all of our Crested Butte friends, which is one of the reasons we wanted to come back. And we're like, why are we fighting this? Like, is this really worth fighting?" And so we're like, "Okay, next winter, we're just gonna go and we're gonna give it a try." And sure enough, we got here and it's awesome. Like we have just so many great friends, such a great community. We now living in Gunnison have been going to the CrossFit Gunny gym, which we love. It's an amazing community there. And the sunshine, it's great. Really.
Yes. I can relate to that with, like, being from the Northwest and having a lot of rain. The mountains and snow are great there, but living in town, it's gray and dark and rainy, and honestly, like, growing up there, I didn't I don't feel like I noticed it that much, that, like, it was just life, right? That's all I knew, so I didn't feel like it affected me or anything, and then moving to Tahoe, I've been here 10 years now, and it's just there's so much sun all the time. Like, I never wore sunglasses before coming here. Now it's like, I can't live without, right? And, we have these beautiful, amazing winter storms, but then the sun comes out and you're still in like just bluebird pow. It's like that's so, so rare in the Northwest. I mean, even this morning, it's like just now 30 degrees out. So when I was walking, probably 25 degrees out, but full sun. So it does not feel cold. I mean, I had a light pair of pants on. I had a light puffy jacket on and a beanie, and, I mean, I have to walk up a hill, so I always layer a little bit less because I know I'll be a little bit cold in the beginning, but on that way back up my hill, I'll be sweating my ass off. So, yeah, full
Yeah.
sun right now, still 30 degrees, and it's like you just don't get that in those corners, the the east corner and west corner of the nation there, and, yeah, I absolutely love the sun here. I'm still the Northwest will always be in my heart and soul, and my whole family's up there, so I love it so much, but you definitely get used to the sun where it makes it a little bit harder to go back to the gray and the wet.
Yeah, and it's just, with whatever you wanna call it, the weather changing and the patterns changing, like, the Northeast is going. I mean, right now, they're crushing it. I think, like, Stowe's got, like, a foot or something of snow, and I'm seeing people skiing all over, and I think it's, like, yeah, it was, like, 21 this morning when I woke up, and now it's sunny and maybe 35 or 50, somewhere in there, and it's like, we have no snow. I mean, we just finally got snow, but hopefully, for here, still with the elevation, once it gets cold, it stays cold, and so you're still able to ski that
Yes.
snow, whereas, like, back east, it probably would've rained and then gone to -20 and be an ice rink, and I
Yeah.
just Vermonters are the best, and New Englanders, not just Vermonters, are so good at making lemonade. They are
Yeah.
like, they will do whatever it takes, they will get after it. My mom, I'd call her up, and she'd be like, "We got 2 inches, I'm going skiing!" And I'm like, "Yes, mom." I love that motivation, and I can't do it.
I love it so much. Yeah, same. I feel like, I mean, we don't deal with the ice much in the Northwest, but it's the rain, right? You're out wet and you're just soaking wet. But here, I have become so much more of a spoiled kind of brat about it. I'm like, no, I don't need to go out when it's windy and cold. Like, I can
Well,
wait
what
till
do they call
tomorrow.
Yeah, isn't, like, Palisades, like, the Hollywood of skiing because
Yeah,
it's always just or, like, the Hawaii. I think I once heard it was, like, the Hawaii of skiing because it's always 32, sunny, beautiful, it's epic.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so, well, I think that that's something that I probably would have done and thought about with the first move, like, okay, do we go back to just straight back to Crested Butte where it feels like you're throwing in the towel and just kinda settling, right, and, like, not giving anything else a chance? I think a lot of us can feel that and question things and get in these spots where it's like, "Yeah, what do I do?" And do I you just never wanna leave a question in your head, right? I think we're always all afraid of the what ifs and the regrets, and especially, like wasting time or something, right? Well, what if I just did this move over here and then I lost these years of my life that I can't get back, and I don't wanna do that when I'm, like, 50, and I need to do it now, like, all these just weird thoughts in our head, the societal pressures of age and where we should be and this and that, but, I think it sounds like it worked out perfect, visiting those different places and then just feeling so good about your decision to be and land in Crested Butte and Gunnison that, like, "No, we did try other things, and this is definitely where we want to be." So sounds like you guys took the right route doing it, and you threw your laser cutter in from the beginning, like, as soon as
Yes.
you hit the road, and so how often well, I imagine that you're obviously then doing all the shipping.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
do all of the cleaning, all of the shipping, all of the cutting. Um, my husband was helping me a little bit, and now he's working out of the camper, which actually is better because trying to move 2 people around this space, um, you learn a lot of patience. I mean, I'm sure you get this, but, like, if he's, like, in the back, I just sit quietly on my little bench. This is a bench right behind me, you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
see, and just wait, and just wait. And then, like, you just kind of, like, are very polite, and you try to be calm, But I've learned, he told me, he came home, he's like, there's no room for me one night. And I realized that I had, because like this becomes my studio back there. And I had like all of the jewelry and my computer and orders and everything out. And I realized, I'm like, oh, so you're asking me to have all this picked up when you come home. Okay, I could do that, because it all fits into these beautiful drawers and it all works really well. But it's definitely a process. And like last night, I had laundry out, I had everything out, and I'm like, man, I can't do anything until I clean this all up, which
Mhm.
is confronting and also like makes you keep your space clean because it's easier.
Yeah.
But also like you don't just get to leave your shit out everywhere.
Yes. It's, like you said, confronting. I love that, absolutely, and we definitely deal with that too.
We were just hanging out with some friends and they have this beautiful new home and it's awesome and it's gorgeous and there's so much space and I'm like, "Oh, this is, the things I miss the most obviously are like running water,
Mhm.
um pretty much, and a couch.
Yeah.
Mostly just running water, shower, and a couch.
Same.
Our couch is kind of like a bench,
Mhm.
so like I really look forward to like the L couch.
Yes.
Um but then we came into our camper and I'm like, "This is pretty cozy." And I'm like, this is works out all right, but what? Why? Like, why am I okay in this
Yes, yeah.
tiny space?"
I know. Same. Our couch also is, like, vinyl-y, so it's, like, cold in the winter when you sit on it, and we're gonna get a wood stove, so the couch is actually gonna have to just go anyway. So, we're gonna finally, after, like, 4 years, modify this place a little bit. I kinda think that we weren't for a while, almost as a, like, "Well, we won't it's not really worth it, right? We'll just spend one more winter here, and we don't wanna do anything," and especially if, like, we end up being able to take it on the road or anything, right? If we do all this stuff, that stuff, it might not make it as mobile, and I think finally we hit that point of, like, we need to do something that, 1, makes it more cozy and efficient.
So, like, if you look behind, this doesn't look like your traditional camper.
Mhm.
So we bought a 2003 toy hauler, and we thought we were just gonna do, like, a little bit of work to it, and it ended up we stripped the whole thing down to the frame,
Wow.
reinstalled yeah, rebuilt the front end, which had rotten, the floor had completely rotten, so this looks nothing like a camper, it's completely custom, because we also had to, like, figure out how we were gonna put a laser cutter in
Mhm.
it. Um so we knew from the start that we wanted to be in cold climates. So we took out all of the underneath plumbing. Like we only have a 7-gallon um, pump sink, and we have a little reducer. So everything is inside here, and that was also the big reason my husband was like, "I don't know, do we really need a wood stove?" And I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "This is a non-negotiable. You don't understand. Like, we are gonna want this." And it was, of course, the minute we got into a cold climate, it's his favorite thing.
Yeah.
He gets up every morning, he starts a fire. He's like, "I love the fire. I don't know why I ever questioned you." Because
Yes.
that drive, like you were saying, and also being able to like, we were going through propane last winter, like every 2 weeks.
Same.
um, yeah, and so but that was with supplementing. Our stove is so small that it only lasts for, like, an hour or
Mm.
2 hours, especially with pine or, like, a softer wood. So we don't usually use it at, like, once we're asleep.
Mhm,
We
mhm.
kinda let the propane kick on, but I am excited this year we got kind of like a AC/heater unit that is so much quieter than the propane, and it runs off electricity, so I'm hoping that our propane consumption is even gonna go down.
That's
So we'll see how.
amazing.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
So with, the setup of a so for folks who aren't really familiar with, like, campers or trailers, the toy hauler part is usually a compartment kind of in the back, like you said in the beginning, like a little garage. And so for you guys, is it still totally separate, or did you knock down, like, a wall where everything is open? Or to get to that toy hauler part, do you go, like, out the door and into your back area?
No, there's a door. It's all one compartment. The drop down ramp door would actually take a little bit of work to open. I mean, not for it to open, but to like be able to. We have like built a kind of a temp closet wall. So like I hang all my coats on the back wall, and we have actually insulated it with foam and like a cloth, so it kind of looks a little nicer. Um, but door is still usable, and we have a little door here. I might even be able to kinda, like, sneak you around,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
There's a wood stove, and that's our garage, and then that's our little kitchen, and here I am.
Okay, awesome. So when you're back there working, you can keep that door open and you feel the heat still. You're not like
Yeah,
totally
and what we
separated where you're freezing trying to cut.
totally yeah, so a lot of the heat is up here, but, we put the propane heater in this kitchen, so we actually put a T on it, so the propane goes to both rooms
Oh,
because we did think about that. So while it goes underneath the laser cutter and isn't as efficient as it is into this room, that room does get heat. And also in the winter, when it gets really cold, our toilet is back there. We put a little electric heater in front of the toilet because otherwise all of our
freeze.
shit would freeze.
The worst feeling, like a
Yeah.
frozen shit
Well,
pipe.
we had like almost a month or at least a couple of weeks of -40 here in Gunny because Gunny's one of the coldest places apparently in the country. And all of our friends and family were like, "Oh no, are you okay? Are you okay?" And we're like, "Yeah, actually." I mean, the walls were cold to touch, right?
Yeah.
Because there's only a couple of inches of insulation, but we were sitting here in our t-shirts. I mean, I just put this on. I had the stove going this morning. And I was sweating. I'm like, dang.
So that's what I love about wood stoves. I can't wait to be warm. Like,
Hot.
we keep it at like
Yeah,
60 degrees in here with the propane. And when you're just sitting and working in 60 degrees in August, I'm like, fuck yeah. That's amazing.
yeah,
That's a gift.
right.
Um, but in the
And
winter, it feels so cold still again, especially when you're sitting. I'm like always just so layered up trying to work. And so I'm excited for the opportunity to not have to be like bundled up, during the day or just come home, and have a nice warm dinner and not feel like instantly I'm like, "Okay, where's my thick socks? Gotta put a hat on, got 3 layers on, I've got my insulated pants on," like
yeah. Yeah, I cranky when my nose is cold and I'm supposed to be inside. I'm like, "Okay, my American privilege is showing right now, and I do not like my nose cold." I'm like, I wanna be warm and dry.
This episode of Tearing It Up is brought to you by No Sew Patches, made for flair or repair. No Sew is all about adding flair to the gear you already love. It can be your favorite ski shell, an old puffy, a backpack, a hat, anything. Make it stand out from the crowd with a fun No Sew patch, whole or not. We all need a pop of color, some personality, and a reminder that our gear can tell a story. Again, you don't have to be repairing it to add the flair. Throw on patches anywhere, anytime. Check out nosopatches.com and use code FLARINITUP for 15% off your next order. That's flaring it up. FLARINITUP. That's a long one. Flaring it up for 15% off. Go make your gear yours. So speaking of seasons, does your business do you see any like higher spikes throughout the seasons? I mean, it's jewelry, so I wouldn't expect maybe too much of a change between winter, summer, or whatnot, but is that the case at all?
Yeah, so, January and February, obviously, right after Christmas, and because of the nature of the product, because it's so lightweight, it's small, it's a great gift. Like, it great makes a great white elephant gift, it makes a great, like, bestie gift, it's a great upsell if you just bought yourself a new bike and you need a gift for your girlfriend. "Hey, honey, I just bought myself a new bike, but here, look what I got you."
It's bike themed.
It's like made out of bike parts. So January, February really dies down, which is okay because I love to ski. I started my own business and moved back to Crested Butte because skiing is really important to me. And so that's okay because it kind of gives me a little bit of downtime to ski. But then in the spring, we see a spike because, everybody thinks of jewelry and bracelets and earrings for the summer when you're not all bundled up. August is great, and obviously the holidays, big gift time. But yeah, so like July's everybody's traveling, like families are on vacation. It's not a huge sales time. But August and the spring and then, rolling into the holidays like November and December are also really good. So there is definitely an ebb and a flow to sales.
Do you have any kind of, like, schedule that you try to stick to, like, Mondays, like, doing a lot of cutting or designing or things, and then, like, 1 day a week is, like, your shipping week, or does it vary just depending on how sales or orders are going?
Yeah, it really depends. I don't really have, um, like a set schedule like that. But I do, trying to prioritize emails, because that's not something I'm very good at. And also like staying consistent. Marketing is
Yeah.
hard. Where you're either gonna be in person or you're gonna be spending money on ads. It's like
Mhm,
either one or the other. Um, and in the spring, summer, and fall, I tend to keep like a pretty like 9 to 5 consistent schedule, obviously with the flexibility that I desire, because that's one of the reasons I struggle as being a small business owner is for the freedom.
mhm.
I didn't know until I started this business and even just like in my 20s how important for me freedom is. And not to say that I don't like work hard, but having the flexibility and the independence to kind of like, go to a doctor's appointment or, like go for a bike ride when it's sunny and it's going to rain in the afternoon or anything along those lines. But I do say, like, in the winter, because January and February are so slow, I will, a couple mornings of the week, I will go ski in the morning or in the afternoon and work more of a half day. Because I mean, we're only on this world for a short period. So, like, create a lifestyle that you love. Um, and that's kind of, this is more of a passion business than it is, like a money market account or I'm not like a financial advisor.
Yes. Well, I mean, I couldn't agree more, and I think that sometimes I struggle maybe saying some of that stuff out loud, almost like a feeling guilty or sounding privileged or like I want all this stuff, with I don't know, just like I said, like, wanting to live a why would we feel guilty? Why should we feel guilty about wanting to live a life that we want to live, right? We shouldn't feel guilty about wanting to create something that allows us to live the most, like, authentic way to us, what makes us feel good. You've learned that freedom is super, super important to you, and I have too, and it is something, we trying to do what we do, make it on our own is a real struggle. I think so many people are struggling these days, whether you're running your own business or not, because the cost of living is just, it's not stopping, right? Everything just keeps going up, and a lot of people's jobs are threatened and things. But it is something that I have really figured out too in the last, I mean, I think I've always known it, but the last few years for sure is like I literally cannot compartmentalize enough to long term work under someone else's, like, rules or schedules or this or that, like, because it doesn't just make me unhappy, it makes everyone around me unhappy, because when I'm unhappy, I mean, like, you can't just, like, keep that all in, right? And I mean, some people are good at that. They go to work, it's what they have to do, they suck it up and they do it for their family or their whatever and this and that, and I mean, like, also to it's not like I don't work hard. I'm out always piecemealing jobs and this and that. No one knows what I'm doing ever because 'cause they're like, "Wow, you do a lot of things." I'm like, "Well, yes, because I do anything I can to enable some kind of freedom," but I also run into, these walls where it's like, I actually don't have the freedom because now I'm over here, like, doing this random, like, gig for money or stressed or there's it's very hard to find that good balance in things, but I do think that we should not feel guilty about saying we wanna build a life that we fucking want, and we're gonna do that in any way we see fit, and that
Yeah.
is perfectly okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of, like, looking at my own thoughts and, I have a lot of self-judgment, I think we all do for the most part, and it really, like, when I go down that rabbit hole, it's like, "You're living in a camper, like, what are you doing? Like, you are such a failure, like, you're making jewelry out of a little camper, like, what is this? Like, you're in the dark, like, what?" And it's like, "Okay, that is so unhelpful."
Yes, yeah.
So then I have to really, like, be very present with my thoughts and be like, "Well, why? Why?" So, like, every time that comes up, I try to stop myself and be like, "You're doing this, right? Like, you are creating something different. You don't know what it looks like, and that's okay." and everybody you're not in line with anybody else's chapter. I'm a little bit older, and so sometimes you see people that have success in their 30s or early 30s, and you're like, "Well, what's wrong with me?"
Yeah, oh my god, that was on my walk today.
Yeah. And I spent my 20s living at, like I thought I wanted to be a professional skier. I tried competing. I was a ski patroller. I really valued, like, I guess, my grandfather calls me a professional ski bum, but it's like, why can't you be a professional ski bum and also be successful?
Yeah.
It's just not going to look the same. So there's no like roadmap. So I think it, for me, and something I realized later now that I always said, like, I do everything in baby steps. And then I started this business and I was like, well, shit, I don't want baby steps anymore. I
Yes,
want
yeah.
success, you know?
100%. And, if success truly does look different to people, right, you said this is a passion business. It's not to make millions, right? It's not the goal. And I think that sometimes we forget that or have to remind ourselves because everyone always the constant chatter is every year you have to grow, you have to do more, it has to look better. But it's like, well, no, as long as you are streamlining and you are covering your bases, then that's fine. If you're living the life you want to live and within your means, then why do you need to strive for more, more, more every year? And I mean, I'm very much still finding that place of making a business be stable at all. But with that thought in mind that it is not to I'm not trying to break through this ceiling and become a, seven-figure number 1 podcast in the world person. I just wanna pay my fucking bills and be able to, like, ride my
Go where
bike, go ski, take the dogs out, go
Yeah.
to the gym, live a physically active, healthy, happy life.
Yeah, totally. And I think, in our American culture, we very much like put success and growth every year and financial, like big financial success on the top of our like ladder. And granted, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want more abundance. Like, I want to be successful. And if I did have a multi-million-dollar business, that'd be okay.
Yes,
And
yeah. I welcome it, but
yeah, right on. And also, like, it's about the journey, not the destination. And even though I might be stressed about money, I look around me and I have so much to be grateful for.
Mhm.
Like I might live in this tiny camper, but I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world and I get to adventure. My cousin and his wife just came to visit us for the 4th of July. And they were like, "You guys, we have never spent this much time outside." And we were like, Hans, my husband and I looked at each other, we're like, "What?" They're
Yeah.
like, "Do you guys always spend this much time outside?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" I just was because that's different, like, I
Yeah.
forget that I'm the weird one, that I'm, like, the 1% living in this, like, weird little camper, having this weird lifestyle by making upcycled jewelry. I'm like, "Well, yeah." Like, so if I'm not in the camper, right, which who wants to be in the camper all the time? I'm outside,
Mhm.
and that's massive, and it's such a beautiful place, and anytime I feel shitty in the camper, I just go outside and I automatically feel better. I'm like,
Yes.
you can't think your way into a better attitude. You really just got to go move
Yeah.
into and feel something different. So in like that regard, I feel very, very rich
Yeah.
in my lifestyle. And that is something, like that I've always been really grateful for.
I love it, and I mean, it's just such a good reminder for, I think, anybody who is going through just the questioning phase, which again, I think, happens to a lot of our audience. Well, the women in this, like, age, I think of all ages, but especially, like I said, our core audience range here, it's just that time in life of questioning a lot of things of, like, what's
Uh,
next, and, especially with everything that's in our face every day, 'cause I see people who started something within 6 months and are having this huge, huge, huge success, and I'm like, I talk to people like, "Oh, you just have to keep at it." I'm like, "Do you understand I've been doing this for 4 years, and before that had another business, like, for 4 years? Like, this is not my first fucking rodeo of things. I didn't just, like,
yeah.
come on the scene and try and start something." So, yeah, it gets frustrating me, like, how did this person reach success within a year or months, and, like,
Yeah.
why am I not good enough, and am I too old? Should I just go try something else? I think that, yeah, a lot of us face this, and it can be really hard to get out of those spirals once you're in it, but it's something I
Mhm.
really need to work on when going in those spirals is just what you said, like, go outside, think about the things that you have, the ways that you are very rich in life. Yeah, it is, except something 100% I need to work on is what are those things that you have that make you feel, like, rich and things are okay and, like, you're
Yeah.
on a path, and I don't know. Do you have any kind of, like, regular practice that you do to help you keep those in your mind, so it's like journaling or anything, or is it literally just if those thoughts happen, like, kinda get outside?
Oh, I do a lot. I I started kind of my, like this is not something I really talk a lot about, but, I kinda started my, self-help woo-woo practice when I was 25 and I was in a bad place, and my mom actually gave me the secret, and, I read it and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Well, this makes a lot of sense to me because if I have a choice, right? Like, you always have a choice. They might not be choices you like, but you have them." And it's like, well, I could either choose to think the positive or I could choose the negative on a very like base level. And I was like, well, shit, I might as well choose to try to be positive because feeling shitty sucks. So that kind of began my journey, and now I meditate every morning. I also have an old neck injury, so I have like this funny little chirp, and it's like a little neck roller, like you would roll out your legs, and I lay on my back and I put that behind my neck to kind of like relax it, and I listen to my meditation, and then I journal, and I work out every morning, um, and I really also just try to be aware of my thoughts, but I do definitely have a gratitude practice. Um, and also, uh, what else do I do? Yeah,
Oh,
exercise a lot.
yes. I love it. I definitely go into slumps of just phases where I'm doing something well, and then all of a sudden, I can get off track very quickly. So for me, consistency, really ebbs and flows. I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, really? Okay, in the grand scheme, like, comparatively, I am consistent, with getting to the gym
Yeah.
compared to, like, maybe someone else, but it's not in my head, my expectation of consistency or something, and so just reframing some of those things, like, "Why am I getting on myself about getting to the gym, maybe only twice this week instead of 3 or 4 times?" When it's like, some people,
Right.
have a hard enough time getting there once. It's like, yeah, just those reframing things and being okay with going through the cycles and phases of, like, I need to pivot, like, I have decided I need to kinda turn it down maybe a notch and, like, "Alright, let's focus on walking and some yoga and, just slowing things down a little in some aspects of my life because there's other aspects that I cannot slow down in the winter that they go full
Yeah.
speed ahead, so
Right.
I can't be full speed ahead on everything, and so that's been that interesting revolution I came to today of, like, "Alright, I do really have to, like, be honest with myself and slow down on some things over here that I have control of, like, slowing down." But yeah, I've always found it hard to stay consistent with practices like, meditation or gratitude practice. So I love hearing from people who are, like, doing that and have that in their kinda daily and everyday routine. It always inspires me.
And I heard an interesting idea about consistency, and consistency isn't always like it is showing up every day. And also it's getting like back on the horse when you haven't ridden in like a couple weeks, right? Like it's showing up for yourself again and again and again, no matter how many times you get knocked down. And I think as entrepreneurs, like, like we were talking about just a moment ago, you've been doing this for a few years. I've been at this 11 years.
Yeah.
So like it's also about just showing up in whatever space you are, right? Like I have this kind of mantra or joke that's like, I might not be into what I'm doing, but I'll be sitting there twisting wires, crying, just like
Yes.
feeling it like, okay, like I'm showing up imperfect right now, but I'm getting it done and I'm still showing up. And there's
Mhm.
something about that and that perseverance and that grit that is going to help give you that life that you love. So it's like it's just it's and that's the thing, like some people like hate ski, right? They're like, "Oh, well, I jump off of things because I have so much anger." And like that's great, and also like why? Like, like be a little bit more compassionate about yourself. Like you're here, you're doing it, like just like it's not going to look maybe exactly how you
Yep.
wanted it to, but you're showing up.
Yeah.
And I think thing to celebrate versus like, well, shit, I only showed up for 10 minutes today. Like, well, that's not going to help you
Yes,
out.
yeah, absolutely. Seeing the positive and, I think I've said it before here, these couple things, but I can definitely tend to go to that negative side a lot quicker. And that is all based off like self criticism, not like that I'm a negative Nancy and thinking like all these bad things, but it all comes from a place of just self criticism more than anything, I believe. And also, wrestling season just started this last Monday, and so I coached the high school, and I was telling them, it's like, this is a very tough sport mentally and physically. It literally takes everything in your being to, like, show up every day and push through, and one thing I wanted these kids to remember as we have some seniors who are questioning their return, and there's new kids who literally after day 1 sometimes don't come back, because they realize how tough it is that it told them that, your 100% looks different every day, but as long as you're giving your 100% for that day, then that's what
Yeah.
matters. We understand that 100% today could look like 60%, tomorrow, but that's what you have in the tank that day. That's what your
Yeah.
100% is. We can see that. We can tell that you might feel like shit or had a bad day, but you're giving whatever you got that day. That's all that's expected.
Right.
And those are things and to remind ourselves and exactly what you just said, just showing up, right? That may crying while twisting some wire, crying on a walk, some of these things, like, for us women too, it's just like, it just comes, we just gotta get it out, but you're still showing up. I cry at the gym all the fucking time, like, at least I'm here, but this I wanted to
Yeah.
do better today, but I'm really frustrated that this weight feels super heavy, but I'm still lifting it,
Yeah.
right? It can be hard in those moments to do that, but I think that is something to remember is, like, just keep showing up.
Showing. Well, and I think, I have 2 things to say to that. Like, I love the example of Monsters, Inc. I love cartoons. And in Monsters, Inc., right, beginning of the movie, the monsters scare the children to get this energy so they can power their city. And then come to find out that actually laughter and joy fuels their city like 3 times as much as fear does. So I'm like, "Oh, well, shit." Like, there's an example, like, proof right there. And then
Yes.
also, I think being able to feel our emotions is our superpower. And I think that, like, throughout, like, we can get this is a whole nother conversation, but we've been put down for that, right? Like, they've looked at it as a weakness when actually, like, I feel like it's our superpower because we know how to handle emotion and we know when and where and when not to make decisions and how to make them even clear, like objective decisions, even though we might feel differently. I think honoring your emotions doesn't mean that you're going to do something erratic or
Yeah.
something stupid. I mean, you might, but like actually, we've kind of noticed that ego does that more than your feelings, like, right? Like, if you're able to feel your feelings, you're coming
Mhm.
from a genuine place, and those are actually a guide to help you make good decisions. So I like to think about, like, my sister-in-law, she's like, "Well, crying is kinda like pooping, like, you just need to get it out." Like, it's just better when it's out, and it's
Yes,
like
yes.
just like, I feel so much better once I've, like, released this emotion, and sometimes I'll just cry, and then I'll be like, "Okay, well, that's over with. Guess I'm gonna get back to work now."
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're good at that as women, honestly, of, like, crying through.
Yeah,
That's why it's like, yeah, I just sometimes can't help it that I'm crying during a workout, but I'm still working out, and I think that also comes from just wrestling. It's the things like, you are just so beat down, and there's no other
yeah.
choice but to keep going, and you just have to, yeah, get it out, and then when it's out, you're like, yeah, there's a release of some sort. Sometimes it wipes you out, right? And you're like, "Okay, actually, I can't do anything today. I'm emotionally wrecked." And other
Yeah,
times you're like, "Wow, that was a great, 5-minute, like, session or 10-minute or whatever." So, getting them
right?
out
Well, and
definitely helps.
it definitely helps, and I think it also, nothing no success ever came from something easy, right?
Mhm.
Like, success and if you think about your favorite activities, are always the hardest, right? Like, my mom and I grew up riding horses, and my mom and I used to go fox hunting, not like real foxes, but they would, like, drag a scent around and you chase it around. It would take 2 hours just to get ready to go to wherever we were gonna go to go hunt with the horses. We would ride for an hour, and then it would take another 2 to 3 hours afterwards, but we had so much joy in that moment. It's like climbing a mountain or planning a trip or, getting that success point in your business, like you have to lean in, you have to feel, you have to push. And when you do that, that's when the accomplishment comes. And that's where the success comes and the joy comes. Like, joy doesn't come from sitting on your ass watching TV. Joy comes from going outside and doing that hard thing. Like, and that's where like confidence comes from. And I think that's something that we're missing so much in our culture today is like joy and happiness come from leaning in.
Mhm.
Everyone's like, I hate confrontation. I don't want to have confrontation. And honestly, on the other side of that confrontation is connection and happiness and joy and understanding and revelation. You know what I mean? So it's like I just feel like we've got a lot backwards in our
Yes.
culture these days. Like, dang, like I feel bad for people that just want to sit on the couch all day long. I mean, great, don't get me wrong. I love watching movies. I love a rainy day. I love all of that. And also, I love the exhilaration. I've just started dirt biking and, in my 40s, and I called my friend and I was like, "I think I've come to terms with the fact that I'm an adrenaline junkie," and she started laughing so hard. She's like, "You're just coming to terms with this?" I'm like, "Well."
20, 30 years later.
Well, like, like in my other sports, all of my friends are just as good and we're all good. And so it's like the adrenaline and the fear, and it doesn't feel so extreme,
Mhm.
to jump off of like a 2-foot little rock on my mountain bike. But in my dirt bike, my husband will look back at me and I'll have my goggles on and my eyes will be like, and he'll be like, and I'll be like, okay, okay. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, that was so cool. I'm such a badass.
I love it. I love
For
it
going
so
through, like,
much.
a tiny stream or over this tiny little, like, something that you would, like, like, a real dirt biker would be like, "Really?"
Yeah. Well, that speaks to, I think, not being afraid to we've done podcast episodes on this before, but not being afraid to try something new as an adult, right? The beginning stages of things can really, really fucking suck. I'm
Yeah.
bad
It's
at
hard.
being a beginner. I hate it. I
Yeah.
want to quit. It's hard, but at the same time, arguably, you get more joy from those because that lit line, the learning, like, curve, I guess, is high. Like, the little
Yeah.
things make
The
you
bell.
so happy and feel so accomplished, and then you can get to a point where you kinda plateau. You're like, "Well, I'm not gonna push it to that 15-foot rock fucking ever, but,
Yeah.
that 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, whatever foot rock or
Mhm.
anything it is, that even just going faster felt so good," but you get to a point that you're like, "Okay, yeah, I'm not really pushing it anymore," and obviously, you can still have so, so, so much fun, but the joy
Right.
of accomplishment, I think, unlock some
R
serotonin too. Doing something you didn't think you could do before
Yeah.
creates just such a different feeling, and you, like, said that confidence and all that, and so I think more of us definitely I need to try some more new things, right, to bring some of that easy, different joy, accomplishment, confidence back in life, especially if you do feel like you're hitting, like, a brick wall with whatever you're doing. Try something
Yeah.
new that makes you feel like
Yeah.
it's almost like when you write a checklist, or a to-do list, and you put that stupid little thing that maybe you even already did, but just crossing it off makes you
Yeah.
feel
I was
so
gonna say,
good that it's like,
yeah.
yeah, start something that you know is like, okay, that's gonna make you feel really, really good because these other things in life right now are kind of struggling, or it's hard to get past that next point. Enter knitting. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Totally. Well, what is it? I definitely write things on my to-do list after I've done them just to
Yes,
cross them off. I'm
absolutely.
like, "Oh, I did something
Yep.
good."
I love it, I love it. I have a to-do list right now, and, I can't wait to, like, mark off, like, "Oh, yeah, record new episode. Done." Well, this is
Sometimes the check doesn't feel enough. Like, I
I
feel like I have to, like.
same. I cannot check mark. I gotta strike it out or color it out for sure. Um
So
Well, this has been just such a fun conversation. If you all have made it through even our, just talk of wood stoves and tiny living, I hope you did because there's so much here at the end that was just so great, and I think great reminders for all of us, especially right now. A lot of people, going into winter, I think can have some of these feelings too, just the nature of the beast and in the season
yeah.
change, it's darker, and yeah, thoughts just happen. But tell folks where they can find ABD culture, whether that's online or in store, the best way you want them to follow along.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there is a store, Tahoe Mountain Sports carries the jewelry, in if you're in the Tahoe area. Here in Gunnison, it's at Double Shot Cyclery. It's also at the Crescent Butte Museum. You can also find me at abdculture.com, and that's also my, Instagram handle is abdculture, and follow along. We've got, all of the sales happening right now. Um, Gift a story, gift it with intention, shop small. Obviously, as a small business owner, I'm not a huge fan of the big corporations, but we do the best we can. It's better to do the little that you can and not beat yourself up about what you can't. And I think,
Yes.
and yeah, I was like going to say, I'm like, and I do have a few other retail locations across the country.
Awesome. Well, guys, definitely go check out ABD Culture, especially all you bike lovers. And even if you're not, like Alex said, super great, cute, lightweight gifts for someone who loves biking, and that shop small. Right now in the holiday season, we get bombarded with all the big businesses and Amazon and all the things that are easy, but it is like I think I feel like I have to say this every year, but every year it's true that it's like more important now than ever to support the small local businesses. So go into your local shop, see if they're carrying ABD culture, or check out stuff online, order it from online. But if you go into your local bike shop and they're not carrying it, maybe mention like, "Hey, do you carry this?" You guys know I've said that a lot. That's the best way to get some of these small businesses in the doors of in your town, in your city, is by you, the customer, saying something to people who work there. That really helps them know that it's in demand, and they'll put those more likely to put those orders in if you're saying you want this, and it helps out these business owners so much. So be sure to mention that as you go into your small local stores, but know you can get everything online and support Alex directly. So make sure to give her a follow, check everything out, and thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.